The Calgary Police Service Economic Crimes Unit has charged 4 people following a 2-month-long investigation into a credit card fraud and identity theft ring. Investigators believe suspects were acquiring credit histories for victims using information to apply for various bank accounts and other credit cards. Once the credit cards were applied for, the suspects would fraudulently apply for Canada Post mail redirect from the victim's address to a post office box controlled by the suspects. Once the suspects received the fraudulently obtained credit cards, officers believe that they used them to make high-end purchases, including electronics and car parts. Police executed search warrants on Thursday, March 17th, 2016, on 2 residents in the 100 block of Penworth Green Southeast and the 300 block of 10th Street Northwest. The following items were seized as a result of the search: credit card embosser, credit card mag stripe encoder, ID credit card printer, credit card blanks, counterfeit and modified credit cards, mail belonging to various victims, identity documents and information, 585 grams of marijuana, and more than $2,500 of cash. A third search warrant was executed on a 2007 Range Rover, which police believe was used in the commission of the fraud offenses, and has also fraudulently obtained vehicle parts installed on it. 1 person was arrested and 3 remain wanted on warrants. Francis Mumbaya, 32, of Calgary, was charged with multiple fraud-related offenses. He will next appear in court on Thursday, May 12, 2016. Paul Seguin, 30, of Montreal, is wanted on warrants for multiple fraud-related offenses. He is described as Caucasian, approximately 5'9", 200 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. Jeff Carmel Charles, 32, of Calgary, is wanted on warrants for multiple fraud-related offenses: possession for the purpose of trafficking, possession of stolen property under $5,000. He's described as black, approximately 5'9", 185 pounds, with brown eyes, black hair, and a slim build. And Jack Samuel Messadew, 19, of Brooklyn, New York, is wanted on warrants for multiple fraud-related offenses as well as possession of stolen property under $5,000. He's described as black, approximately 5 feet 11 inches, 180 pounds, with a slim build, brown eyes, and black hair. I'll now take any questions you have.
So everyone came from different areas, so how did they all kind of fit into the Calgary investigation?
Yeah, so what we've uncovered in our investigation is actually the 3 individuals, Seguin, Charles, and Messadew, all originate from the Montreal area and are all known to each other. The 4th individual, Mumbaya, seems to be somebody that's operating a separate cell doing the same type of crime.
There's a wide variety of cards on that table. Maybe why are there A&W cards?
Yeah, so 2 things were happening with this investigation, or these groups of people. The first thing that was happening is credit card data, which we believe is probably purchased off of the internet or the deep web, was taken with victims from across Canada and the United States, and it was used to create false or fraudulent credit cards, counterfeit credit cards. So when you're looking at the variety of cards that we have down there, anything from a hotel key, swipe card to gift cards, etc. Credit card data can be encoded onto the back, onto the mag stripe portion of those cards. So that's what they're doing. They're just gaining all sorts of different types of cards, encoding credit card data onto the back of it, and then using those when they go to purchase different items at stores fraudulently.
Is this new?
Sorry,
Go ahead.
No.
we've all heard about the card skimming schemes and stuff before. You just mentioned something called the deep web. What's that? Can you describe it?
The deep web is a portion of the internet that is often where there is secret information or criminal element information, where there are blogs and information that is harder to get to, not just on the surface of the internet, but deep into the internet. And there are often things like identities for sale or credit card information for sale under that.
How common is that?
It's becoming more and more common. Unfortunately, cybercrime is something that is growing and it is becoming a trend that we're seeing explode actually across the world. So the other thing that this group was doing is stealing identities. And unfortunately, at this time, we don't know how those identities were stolen. But what was happening is they had identity information, name, date of birth, social insurance number, address for multiple victims. And we've identified 35 so far in the investigation. And what we believe was happening is that they would take those identities and apply online for actual credit cards using the false identity. The credit card would go to multiple addresses across the country to be delivered. Prior to the delivery of it, that mail would be redirected to post office boxes where then the offenders would go and pick up the actual credit cards. From across Canada, the actual credit cards, or maybe even just the data from the credit cards, made its way back to Calgary, where they created further counterfeit credit cards and then did those fraudulent spends.
Everybody seems to be coming to Calgary. Is it a center for this, or is it just a happen that everybody was here?
You know what,
Montreal.
with these types of groups and other groups that we're seeing, so whether it's auto theft or drugs or any kind of other criminal groups that are working together, often what they'll do is what we call a traveling roadshow, and they'll start in, Quebec, and they'll work their way across the country, hitting all the major centers along the way. With this group specifically, several of those individuals have been in Calgary for several years, so we believe that they were working out of Calgary and were centered here for some time. One of the very interesting things that was found in the search warrant was what we would be or potentially deem a mobile credit card lab. So it was a suitcase, and inside of the suitcase was actually the encoder, the embosser, and the credit card and identity printer made to be mobile. So if they wanted to pick it up and potentially go to a hotel room somewhere, or maybe go to some communities outside of Calgary or Alberta and go around and start making cards and then going and doing fraudulent spends in those communities, they were very much capable of doing that.
So maybe when we potentially identified just the very surface of the rainwater, do you feel that this is probably it?
You know what, our investigation is still ongoing, and with things like this, we have months and months of follow-up now because of all of the identities that we've been able to find. We also seize computers, so those will be sent away for examination, and that will tell us a lot when we have those brought back to us as well.
I know we always ask what can people do to prevent it from happening, but in this case it doesn't seem like there was a heck of a lot anyone can do.
You know what, to prevent it from happening in the first place, probably the biggest thing that individuals can do is make sure that they're practicing safe internet experiences. So when you're online and you're purchasing something, make sure you do it in a safe manner, clearing your cookies, and make sure that the bar at the top is green and there's a lock so that you know that you're safe and it's a legitimate site that you're on. Really watch public Wi-Fi. You shouldn't be signing on to your banking information and using public Wi-Fi all at the same time. But I guess on the other side of that, if you feel that you may have been compromised, what you want to do is make sure that you're checking your credit card statement regularly. And as soon as you see anything that's not jiving, make sure that you're notifying your bank or your credit card company. And then you can also do checks to make sure your identity is safe through Equifax and TransUnion on a regular basis, just to make sure you're up on top of your identity and where it is.
Any idea of how many people have been victimized?
Right now, we have 35 people that have been identified as victims of identity theft. Just from what my investigators tell me, that's going to definitely grow. And like I said, this investigation is ongoing. On the other side of it, the credit card fraud, it's the banks and the credit card companies that are actually the victims.
Anything else?
This seems so common. We're almost here, almost on a weekly basis. Is it not just a matter of if you're going to get some fraudulent activity on your cards, but when?
I mean, I'd like to say no, I would be hopeful in saying no, that you're still relatively safe. I think the credit card companies, the banks, the police, and a whole bunch of other agencies are working together to help, combat and prevent these types of things. Prevention or being aware of these things that they're going on is definitely one of the keys. But you know what? I really can't say that, whether or not you're going to be safe from it or it's going to touch everybody. We were in a room once where we asked, how many people have been affected by robbery, and a handful of people put up their hand. And the other question was asked, how many people have been affected by fraud? And almost the entire room put up their hand. So it is a growing crime. It is something that is widespread. And with the internet and cybercrime that's happening, we really, truly are trying to keep up to this and change and adapt the ways that we're investigating this to arrest people like this, to stop some of the criminality happening.
Can you keep up to it?
Right now, I'm going to say no, we can't. I mean, the technology changes very quickly, that we have to educate ourselves, and we do feel like we're a little bit behind the 8 ball, but we're not going to give up.
You said traveling roadshows, so are these 4 individuals charged with or wanted in any other municipalities or jurisdictions?
I'm sorry, I don't have that information.